Microphone. Dumba Jumden de Java da Jumba Yandamba Zobe Sanjereba Jamsu Demba Devara Java Jigden Jemba Jevo Deve Galo Jorva Lana Meva Lada Menamje Dumba Sanje Jumden de Pejava Shaja Dubal Chazel Jodo Jamsu Je ho damba jomden de jin sheba chan jomba yanda zobe zanje rigba dan jabzo damba devara sheba jiden jemba jevo deve kalo jurwa lana meba lada menam je damba zanje jomden de pejawa shaja doba Chaze lo judo jabzo che ho damba jomden de jin sheba chancho yanda ba zobe sanje rigba dan jabzo demba dewara sheba jiden jemba jevo dewe kalo jorwa lana meba lada menam je demba sanje jomden de Bejawa Jaja Duba La Jazel Chedo Jazo Je Ho Sanje Chedan Soje Chonama Ala Chanshu Padu Tane Jazo Je Tage Cheche Gebe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho Sanje Chedan Soje Chonama Ala Chanju Padu Tane Jauso Je Tage Cheche Jebe Sonama Je Dola Penje Sanje Dobara Sho Sanje Chedan Soje Chonama Ala Chanju Padu Tane Jauso Je Tage shuje jebe sonamanje dola penje sanje dobara sho. Good morning. I hope you can hear me clearly. So before we begin with the stanza where we stopped in the last class, I thought to do a brief recap. Sometimes we forget, and then when we come across that stanza, is like completely, it appears or feels like completely new. So what we have been discussing so far is that the topic of developing meditative concentration. So Shantideva begins with a summary which you see on the screen. Having developed enthusiasm in this ways, so this is after Shantideva discussed in detail how to develop enthusiasm or perseverance. I should place my mind in concentrations now that we have developed certain degree of perseverance. Now we should focus on developing the concentration. Here the concentration refers to a calm abiding or shamatha. For the man whose mind is distracted dwells between the fangs of disturbing conceptions. The reason why one needs to develop concentration is that a person who lacks concentration creates this risk and danger, is like being in the jaw of a tiger or a shark dwells between the fangs of disturbing conceptions. So when we lack certain degree of concentrations, we are more likely to be easily influenced by afflictive emotions. We get distracted and thereby what do you call, no control over afflictive emotions. And that leads to engaging in all kinds of negative actions. So that's why one needs to first develop concentration. But through solitude of body and mind, no distractions will occur. So in order to develop, for the beginners, Shandita was talking about, for the beginners, when one is at the beginner's level, it is so important to have a very quiet place, free of all the distractions. So that's why it's called the solitude. One needs to remain in a place that is free of distraction, because the main goal here is to develop what you call the mental develop the complete overcoming of distractions of mental states. But in order to achieve that, for beginners, we need to remain in solitude. Solitude of body, it says. Therefore, I should forsake all the worldly life. So the main cause of our distraction, the main cause that prevents us from developing concentration is all the distractions that we, distractions of the worldly life or samsaric life. So it is important to distance ourselves from all the potential distractions. So Shantideva begins by, so when it comes to, when he discusses these in details, so he first discusses about the importance of developing shamatha. Shine rabdo tembe laudong nyomo nambaran jomba shejene tomara shine zechas. So as a Mahayana practitioner, our main goal is to achieve enlightenment or the Buddhahood. In order to achieve that, we need to cultivate the union of concentration and insight. Of course, the main antidote or the main method is developing this insight. But in order to develop powerful, effective insight, one needs to develop concentration. So if we are so distracted or so obsessed with the worldly enjoyments or distracted by worldly activities, this hustle and bustle of the samsaric world, then there's no way we can develop concentration. So for that reason, Shantideva first identifies what is that really prevent us from developing a certain degree of concentration or in other words, what is the main source of distractions for us. So Shantideva identifies this attachment to our loved ones and also material gains. He started by saying that in order to develop calm abiding or the concentration, we need to, what is the term? We need to dwell is it? We need to remain in solitude. But what is preventing us from remaining in solitude is our attachment to the worldly things, our family, our loved ones, our possessions. Because of this attachment to all these external and internal things, there is no way that we can let go of this and then go into solitude. For that reason, he goes on to discuss the faults of having this clinging attachment to our loved ones. Because our goal is to make them happy or fulfill our desire. But Shantideva says that there is no what you call fulfilling of making the what he calls as childish to be thoroughly or completely pleased. Even there were times where we were able to please them, but there is no contentment. There is no what do you call this feeling of enough. One is never satisfied. One is never satiated. And moreover, when we are so involved in this attachment, when we were driven by this kind of attachment to our loved ones and material gains, it becomes a hindrance, it becomes an obstacle to achieving achieving liberation, not to mention Buddhahood. And in short, because of our obsession, because of our attachment, we end up wasting this precious human rebirth. So, our attachment to either loved ones, our family members, or what do you call the material gains, all ends up engaging in all kinds of negative actions, thereby lead us to unfavorable conditions of rebirth in future. Likewise, even the material gains it breeds pride, arrogance, conceit, and thereby we end up harboring kind of a contempt to those who are lower than us, and then develop this kind of competitiveness and envy. So I think that's where we are at now. We get to the next one. So we are now at verse 22. So Shantideva then talks about the what do you call the pointlessness or the faults of trying to associate with other people out of desire for all these material gains. So we are hoping to please everybody so that one can benefit. So this is all driven by attachment towards material gains or fame, name. So for that, this verse 22 says that if even the conqueror was unable to please the various inclinations of different beings, then what need to mention an evil person such as I? Therefore, I should give up the intention to associate with the worldly. So this is all we have to understand from the point of view of our attachment to material gains, fame, name, all these worldly things. We are all driven. We are driven by this attachment, these worldly concerns. And that's why we engage in all kinds of things, try to please everybody. But Shantideva is saying that there is no way one can make everybody happy. People have different inclinations, people have different tastes, people have different levels of intelligence. So we see this very clearly at this time in US politics. People are doing, what do you call those? The candidates are doing, candidates are campaigning, rallying to be elected. And we can see the different kinds of audience one draws. One candidate's speech kind of angers another group, whereas another person's speech really brings joy and happiness, hope. So this clearly illustrates that people have different tastes, people have different inclinations. So there's no way that we can please everybody. On the other hand, in order to please other people, we end up doing all kinds of things. That is also very clear in American politics. In order to make somebody happy, to please somebody, these politicians do and say things that I think they themselves don't really believe, that they themselves know that it is not right. But they do this all to please the audience or someone so that they can gain what they are attached to. It could be the fame, it could be the status, it could be their seats, their job, their gains. So it is pointless to engage in activities to please the childish or worldly. Here it says worldly. Simje nyeba mela me nyeba chenla minyenju rangshin choka tadagi gawa chidar kewar jurus. So providing more reasons why childish are too difficult to please. So therefore, even if we attempt, it will not result in pleasure and joy. Because the nature of these childish is that they scorn those who have no material gains and say bad things about those who do. How can they, who are by nature so hard to get along with, ever derive any pleasure from me? So you look at the image here, the image of a cat and a mouse. So this captures our attention because this is so uncommon. It is something rare that a cat and a rat or mouse can coexist. Normally, cat is always after the mouse or rat. They are enemies. So that is the nature. The cat has this tendency to go after, attack a mouse or rat. So this is what Shantideva was saying there. By nature, the childish, the ordinary people, they scorn those who have no material gains. Those who are poor and weak and poor, they kind of hold contempt. Whereas when somebody who is successful, instead of rejoicing, we have the tendency to speculate about how their wealth came about. We suspect that their wealth or their success must have obtained through some illegal means or wrongful ways. So if childish are by nature like that, then how can they who by nature so hard to get along with ever derive any pleasure from me? So how can we make them please? Because they will always find a way not to be happy with you, not to be pleased. So now Shantideva is quoting. He said, the nature of childish and how one cannot how we cannot completely please them is not something that I am making up. Shantideva was saying, this is not something that I made up. It is actually what Buddha has said. So he's quoting, so there are many sutras. So I'm not going to read from those sutras, but the basic point is here. Kanjir chiba rangduni mebarangawa mijungwes. Chibangayang shimin she. Tishin sheba namji songs. So what Buddha has said is that it has been said by the Tathagatas. What did Buddha say? Tathagata said is that one should not befriend the childish, because unless they get their own way, these children are never happy. So it is always about getting their way, fulfilling their wishes. The moment it doesn't go their way, then they are upset, they are angry. So it is impossible, first of all, to know all their wishes, to know each and every wishes of the childish beings. Even if we know their desire, it is impossible to fulfill all that desire. So therefore, it is pointless, it is useless to try to associate with childish beings with the hope that you will gain what you are attached to. So these are all points to suggest or points to illustrate the faults of attachment. Because we do this, we try to please people, we try to associate. So this in Tibetan is called duzi. Duzi is to associate with a group or with the people, to the event, attend event. So just for example, I think we all have experienced this, that there's an event you don't want to attend, but if you don't attend, then you lose something. Let's say if the office annual party, which tends to drag too long into the night, and you may not enjoy participating, but because you fear that there will be some ramifications, some negative consequences by not attending. So we end up going there. This is also this attachment to our status. You may fear that, oh, I may not get the promotion that I am desiring for, or I may be demoted. I may not be able to secure the status that I have now if I miss that, if I don't attend that. So that's the point Shantideva is making. For most of us, what we do is all driven by this attachment to something. Some attachment, it is strong and very obvious. But some attachment, it is very subtle. We may even argue that, oh, what I am doing is nothing to do with attachment. I'm doing solely for this and that. But if we examine closely, if we investigate what is underneath that desire, that driving force, we will find that there is certain degree of attachment towards something. So that's the point Shantideva is making, that our attachment to material things, worldly things, are the ones that are preventing us from developing samadhi, or in general to do a proper Dhamma practice. So until here, Shantideva discusses or identifies what prevents us from dwelling in solitude. It is the attachment. We have to let go of things. We have to develop some kind of certain degree of what do you call this detachment. And once we are able to do that, then this thought of going to do spend our time in solitude and focus on our practice arises. So there are two ways to go about that. The first one is to contemplate on the faults or the disadvantages of being so obsessed or being attached to the worldly things. Then on the other hand, contemplate on the qualities of a solitude life. And then make prayers. Then slowly and gradually, so our attachment towards the worldly life will kind of diminishes or become less strong, and then this aspiration to spend our life in solitude so that one can focus on one practice grows, increases. So in order to do that, one needs to contemplate on the qualities. So here Shantideva now talks about 5 distinctive qualities of a solitude life. So the first one is on the what do you call the company. When one leads a solitude life in a remote, in a forest, so there is this quality of company that one will get. Nana rida chanamdang shingnam minyen jö mije chona tewa teda tang namshi lenji ta ne gyurus. When shall I come to dwell in forests amongst the deer, the birds, and the trees that say nothing unpleasant and are delightful to associate with. So this is a stark difference from living in a normal family. So no matter how close you are with your spouse or family members, there is always what is called family squabbles. There is always some kind of argument, some kind of disagreements. Either if your husband irritates you, angers you, or the wife, vice versa, and then children, especially when you have children, especially teenagers, it really gets into your nerve. There will be unpleasant exchange of words. It's kind of for some people, it's kind of a daily things. So whereas when we live in the forests, when we dwell in the forests, your companies are what do you call non-harming, peaceful kind of animals like deer, the birds, and the trees. And these do not say unpleasant things. They do not insult you. That say nothing unpleasant and are delightful to associate with. So one needs to contemplate on the quality of the company, and then make fervent prayers, aspire to have such opportunity. Next comes the place or the location. Pugam lagam tongbaham junshin chongdu ne chede namshi kyabdu medashin chaba mebar jurshi kus. So there are two verses. When dwelling in caves, in empty shrines, and at the feet of trees, never look back, cultivate detachment. So I will first talk about the second verses so that it can make the point clearer. Sajo tagir sung meba rangshin gini yang namsu rawan choji cha meba namshi thani never jurus. So when shall I come to dwell? The place not clung to as mine. There's something is not right. Which are by nature wide and open, and where I may behave as I wish without attachment. So this is the second quality. This is the quality of the place where when one goes to do solitude practice, where one goes to, normally in Tibet the people go into forests and then they reside in caves, look for a cave, and then they do the practice there. So when one dwells in that kind of environment, so I don't know about America, but in other places like Tibet and Bhutan, if you go into jungle and if you start doing your meditation in a cave, nobody comes to say that I own this place. You should not stay here. You must leave. There is no such thing. So that place, nobody asserts a possession of that place. So it is free to use. And then when you go up in the jungle, it is wide. Sometimes you can get a nice view. We like to do that. That's why we, every now and then, we go for what you call holidays. We go to cabins. Many people have cabins in the forest where it is remote. Why do we do that? Because it kind of calms us down. It's like taking a break from all that hustle and bustle of the city life. It's so calming to be with the nature, where it is wide and open. Nobody has purposefully, intentionally made it wide and open, but it's just naturally it is wide and open. And at such place, one has the full freedom. One can set up one's meditation cushion anywhere you want. In the house, you cannot do that. You cannot do that. You cannot place this here. This is the living room. This is the, TV room. This is this. This is that. You don't have freedom. And most importantly, it is very quiet in this kind of place. So that's why Shantideva said, when dwelling in caves, in empty shrines, and at the feet of trees, never look back. After contemplating on the benefits, the quality of such a place, one aspires to be in such place and be able to do one's practice. So these are, some of you may find that these are kind of irrelevant, especially in this life, especially when you are kind of entangled in the family life. But it is important to contemplate on these points, because when you do that, aspiration will arise. With the aspiration, one is likely to make prayers. And everything starts with the prayers. We may not know, maybe it can happen in this very life. If not next life, there is a possibility that it can happen in next life. So it is important to contemplate on these points and then generate aspiration and then make prayers that one may be able to do such things. If possible in this life, if not, definitely in the next life. Now is the what you call the food, the sustenance. Longze la so nyeze dangs, kuna miko kwe changshings, lui de bawa ma jang, jingme neba namshi jurus. So it's the simplicity of a solitude life. So when you remain in solitude, in forests, in caves, so your life becomes so simple. Even your basic needs, food and clothing, very simple. So of course this is, Sandida was talking to the Sangha community. So he talks about the begging bowl. When shall I come to live without fear, having just a begging bowl and a few odd things? So those days for monks, they have only very few possessions. Of course, they have the begging bowl, that is a must thing. And then they have what is called 3 ropes. Even that rope is made from what you call the discarded rags. So monks pick up those were discarded, the clothes that were discarded by others, and then sew them, and then make them into ropes. So no branded things, and nobody will say that, oh, you are not wearing a branded item. But in the worldly environment, these are important. Branded things are important. I mean, we make that important. Some people go to such an extreme length to portray one's status by wearing all this or collecting this branded stuff. Shanti, they were saying that one of the benefits of remaining in remote areas or leading a solitude life is that nothing is so complicated. It is very simple. You just need a begging bowl. So in Tibetan culture, I mentioned this before, if one is serious about doing meditations, if one goes into jungle to do retreat, one will never go hungry. There will be always people to support you. Even that means that the one who is offering basic needs has to walk for, I don't know, how many miles. But I don't know about America. So this is the same thing. So we may not be able to do now, but it is important to make aspirations, make prayers. Because if one is able to lead that kind of simple life, then there is plenty of time to focus on Dharma practice compared to leading a worldly family life. When one is entangled with the family obligations, there's hardly any time. You wake up, prepare food for your children, then you rush to office, from there go and pick up your kids, cook for them, and then do other errands. There is hardly any time. I have come across people who really wanted to attend classes, come to classes, but then because of family obligations, they couldn't. People have told me directly that, oh, I really want to do that, but I have to take care of my grandchildren. And then America, dogs, pets are very popular. Sometimes your pets prevent you from engaging or from participating in Dharma activities. There is this need to go back to your pets after certain hours. So all these, given all these conditions, it may seem impossible right now, but it is important to always contemplate on such qualities and then make prayers to have such freedom, to have such opportunity. So even one is able to have the opportunity in the next life, it's still very good. And then in the next life, we can progress, make progress, and then build on in the next life. But if you don't start from now, you say, oh, it's impossible for me to do anything. And if you just let yourself being carried away by the worldly life, then there is never a beginning. Everything has to begin at some stage. So in our past lives, it is clear that we were unable to do that. That's why we are still in the same boat, same situation. So now is the opportunity to bring change, make a difference, so that we can sever this entanglement and free ourselves from this worldly trap. And and have the opportunity, have the freedom in the next life to really focus on Dharma practice. So this is already a different topic. So Shantideva, so after listing the qualities, the 5 qualities of leading a solitude life, then he embarks on to address our attachment to our body. So Shantideva has earlier addressed our attachment to our loved ones, our family members, the worldly concerns, the material gains, and the strongest attachment is to ourselves, to our body. So here onwards, Shantideva goes on to discuss on these attachments and how we can reduce that attachment. So I will just read this and then Tutu Sone Shendagi Rugong Ta Yang Tagi Lu Jigbe Chujin Taduni Namji Gonyum Chebar Jurus. Having departed to the cemeteries, when shall I come to understand that this body of mind and the skeletons of others are equal in being subject to decay? So we treasure, we cherish this body so much. We spend so much time taking care of this body. We spend so much money. We work so hard to take care of this body. But of course, we're saying that you shouldn't take care of your body, but without this clinging attachment, without attachment to our body. So one needs to, of course, every now and then one needs to meditate on the impermanent nature of our body, that it is subject to change, and also what we perceive it as such a beauty and pretty things is not really the case. It is ugly in nature. The only thing that avoids seeing the ugliness is that the skin. Once you remove the skin, once you peel open, then one will see the ugly nature of our body. So we are supposed to reflect on that. But he's here saying that sometimes it is helpful, effective to visit cemeteries. And when we see the decay that has happened to other bodies, when we see the skeletons of other bodies, which were once pretty and nice looking, but it has come to this state now. So when we see that, it helps to realize or understand that there is no need to be so attached. It is like the sand castle. We are not so attached to a sand castle. We know that every moment the wave will wash it away. So when we visit cemeteries and when we see these decayed bodies, then remind ourselves that my body is no different from these ones that I see now. So through that kind of contemplation, one needs to reduce attachment to one's body. Tagi luni tini yang kangi ti wada yang chungdu nyerdo minjurwa tedabuni juwaungs. So this is about the ugliness. So in order to reduce attachment, one method that is prescribed in Buddhism is the meditation on ugliness. How ugly, how unclean our body is. So we mistakenly perceive our body and even others' body whom we are so attracted to as such a pretty and nice. But here in Buddhism there is a way to do this meditation on ugliness. So then because of its order, not even the foxes will come to this body of mind, for this is what will become of it. So we treasure so much, we cherish so much. But he said that it will come to a state where it will decay, and even a hungry fox will not touch it because of its odor. because of its dirtiness, ugliness, defilement. For this is what will come of what will become of it. So that's what is going to happen. I think we will stop here today. So anyway, I wanted to reiterate the point that when you go through this, you may feel that these are not that relevant, that I am in such a situation where these are inapplicable. But as I mentioned before, it is important to really contemplate on this and try to instill or generate aspiration, and then make fervent prayer, make strong prayers. You never know. Remember, we have a saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So making aspirations, making prayers to have such opportunity is the first step. So I think that's what we can kind of take home. Okay, so let's stop here, and I will see you all next week. Let's do the dedication. Dagi Jini Sawe Jawa de Dendan Dova Gunla Gamben Dan Javara Jesu Lozan Tabai Tembe Nyingbu Rindo Seje Jo Panden Zawe Lama Dembo Je Dagi Nyingara Beme Denjol Kadin Jembe Ngone Jeson de Guzon Tuje Mojo Zedo Su Jambe Bawe Jedara Kemba Da Kundo Zambo Tenya Dejen Deda Gunge Jesu Talo Je Jawa Deda Damje Rabdo Ngo Dezon Shekbe Jawa Damje Je Ngowa Kala Shodo Ngaba Dage Jeve Zawan de Gwenja Zambo Chuji Rabdo Ngowar Ji. Thank you.